A disclaimer up front, if you were looking for a video that just says drill a hole in a panel and mount it, this video probably isn't for you. When it comes to installing a bass knob into a vehicle, I generally have a few requirements that I like to meet. First off, I like to avoid drilling any holes into any of the panels, that way the vehicle can be returned to stock if need be. I also want to have the bass knob in a location that is easy to see and use. In this video, I'm going to come up with a solution for mounting this knob in my Jeep Wrangler project that I'm currently working on. And the steps in this video can be applied to any vehicle, so this will give you some ideas for your vehicle as well. I'm Mark, welcome to CarAudioFabrication, the show where together we learn how to master car audio and how to design, build, and install our dream car audio system. Let's get started. Really quick before we get into the content, I do want to take a quick second to thank monthly channel sponsor New Concepts and tell you guys about their lineup of power distribution accessories. As you probably know, when you install a custom car audio system, you need a way to distribute a larger wire, let's say a 0-gauge wire, to 2 different wires along with adding fuses. This is the basic lineup from New Concepts, and I really like these fuse distribution blocks because they're simple, they're easy to use, and they're reliable. I've used these on several different projects here on the channel. If you guys want to learn more about these, check out the links down in the video description. So the bass knob that I'm using for this project is the JL Audio DRC205. I put bass knob in quotes because this is a little bit more unique than your average bass knob. Let me show you guys a little bit more. This knob has 2 different controls on it. You can see the larger knob on the outside there, and then a smaller knob on the inside. The advantage of this is in the DSP software for the VXI amplifiers that I'm using for this build, you can tell the amplifiers what you want each knob to control. For my application, I'm going to be using the larger knob to control just the bass output from the subwoofers, and then the smaller knob is a total system volume control. So it controls all the subwoofers and all the speakers, the total system output. The other thing that this knob will be used for is you can click it in, which allows you to change between different presets, and this has an LED ring light built in, and it will change color based on what you set it up for on the DSP software. It changes colors with that preset, that way you know which preset you are on. The reason I explain all this is I know somebody is bound to ask, why not just use the head unit to control the subwoofer volume output? I like being able to have it on a knob because it's a lot better than going through different settings on the aftermarket head unit. And again, I also like having that added functionality of switching the presets as need be. One more important note for you guys to understand during our design process is to mount this, what you do is normally you would just take a 5/8 inch hole and you unthread this black piece right here. You would then push the clear section there through the hole and then thread this black piece back on, tighten it up, and that will secure the knob in place. Now, based on the size of this controller and my desire to not drill any new holes, I ultimately decided that the best location for mounting this controller is going to be where this stock cigarette lighter 12-volt DC outlet was. To remove this from the vehicle, you use this special tool. I'll put a link for this for you guys down in the video description because this is a universal tool that applies to several different makes and models. And you can push it in there, and there's basically a tab on each side. See that little square right there? And then right there, it pushes the plastic out of those tabs so that you can slide the barrel, which is that metal part. You can slide the metal part out, you can disconnect the wiring, and with that metal out of the way, it gives you clearance to push the tabs in on this plastic part so you can remove the rest of the assembly. Let's go see where this is from in the vehicle. So this right here is the proposed location that we're going for. This is just loose in here right now. I just put it in that spot so you guys could get an idea. And the reason I'm putting it right there is, one, I don't have to actually drill any holes or modify any panels in the vehicle. And 2, this is normally just a 12-volt receptacle. If I did need to charge a phone, we can just use the USB connections here. And if I did need the receptacle for some sort of emergency purpose, there is one in the back of the vehicle. I hate the idea of having loose wiring running out of here, so any accessory that I added to this vehicle, whether it be, I don't know, a radar detector or a dash cam or anything like that, I would hardwire it anyway, so this location really doesn't get used. It's perfect for this control knob. So I'm going to get these panels pulled back off so that I can take out this panel here and do my measuring as needed for the design process. Doing this is something that we could do in any vehicle, so stay with me even if you don't have a Wrangler, but if you do have a Wrangler, just to give you guys a little bit of information, for First of all, you can pry this panel off here. There's no screws on this. And then there is one screw right here that I've already removed, which will allow me to pry out this panel. And as a little trick so that you can get the shifter back and out of the way, you can just pop up this boot right here. And then you can just barely see it. There's a little white button right there that you can push down. And that allows you to actually move the shifter without the vehicle turned on. That's actually a really, really nice feature. So moving into the design process, we're going to be using 3D modeling in order to make our part. Now, I know what some of you guys might be thinking, I don't know how to do 3D modeling. It's definitely a skill that's going to be handy in today's day and age and moving forward to understand how you can bring 3D models into a computer or create things within a computer that can then be made in the real world. So it's a skill that I would recommend investing into. There's tons of different YouTube tutorials that you can learn about on different modeling programs. I'm using Fusion 360. There's other programs like SketchUp. If high-end car modification interests you, this is definitely a good skill to have. So I want to walk you guys through how I modeled all of this. I took my digital calipers and I started with creating this sketch that you see here. And this is dimensions on the actual part itself. So I took a measurement of this inside diameter here. I took a measurement of the diameter from here to the edge of the key, and then I also took an overall diameter. That allowed me to create this 3D model here. And the point of this is actually the factory part. This is the factory panel, so this gives me all the dimensions of everything that I need in order to make my part that's going to sit inside of this from the back and the front. What the plan is I'm going to have a part from the back side that locates on this key location, that way it can't rotate. And then I'm gonna have a part that comes in from the other side. And basically when we put our knob through here, when we put that threaded clear section through and then add the black nut that tightens everything together, it's going to sandwich my bottom piece, it's going to sandwich the factory panel and my top piece all together, holding everything in place. So I created this next sketch on the inside here, and this gives me a little bit of spacing between the factory part and my new part, and that spacing is consistent all the way around. And then this hole here is 5/8 of an inch, which is that hole size that we need for our part. So from that sketch, I created this extrusion. So this is going to be the first part of my back piece that I'm going to 3D print, but I need it to be larger on the bottom here. That way it can't pass through the panel. So I created another sketch that picks up this circle here, making it larger. So that allows me to create this extrusion, which combines this part here with this part. And if I hide the factory panel, you can see that this is what my bottom piece is going to look like. This is all one piece. So with this lip here, if I turn on the panel, it's not going to be able to come through the panel, but it can also locate in place based on this key. The bottom piece is done, so we're going to hide it for the time being. Now I'm looking to start creating the top piece. So I've made a new sketch here. Again, I've picked up that inside diameter of 5/8, and I've added an outside diameter here that's larger than the hole, because same thing, we don't want the front piece here to be able to pass through to the back side. So by doing that, I've created this shape here. I'm going to turn off our panel moving forward just so we can start making this shape. So I basically just have a disc at this point, and the next thing I wanted to do is I know I wanted to add some details to the outside ring of it. I didn't want it to just be this washer looking thing. I wanted to actually have a nice profile. So I made this little triangle cut here, and this is going to allow me to do what's called a revolve cut. Basically what I did is I told the program that I wanted to revolve this shape and cut into my existing shape based on the axis in the center here, and I only wanted to do it over 30 degrees. So it's going 15 degrees from each side of this plane. I then told the program that I wanted to repeat that feature 6 different times, completely rotating around the part. So now we're starting to get something a little bit more unique. But again, these edges here, they kind of look, hard. They don't look like really a finished part yet. So now what I did is I added in another sketch right here. And the point of this sketch is it's a smaller rectangle that I can do the same thing. I'm going to cut away along this line up to this plane here. So when I enable that feature, it looks something like that. Let me hide this sketch for you. So now you can see we're starting to get something a little bit more interesting looking. Same thing as before, I repeated that process on these other 6 spots. Now we definitely have something far more interesting looking than just a washer. It also has more of a finished appeal, but it still does have some sharp edges. So to finish those off, I did 2 different fillet features, and a fillet is basically just a small round over. And you can see I've rounded over all of these different corners to give this part a much more finished kind of touch and feel and look. I've got everything turned back on now, and I did a cross section so you guys can see how this has all come together. Remember that this piece here, this is the factory panel. So my new bottom piece that I'm going to 3D print, it just sits inside there. It picks up on that key location, but it can't pass through the panel because it has this larger diameter. And then our new top piece sits on top of the panel. It's got all these interesting, cool features on it. But again, it can't pass through to the backside. So we basically just created a sandwich. The clear part of the knob goes through this hole, and then that screw tightens down onto this face here, sandwiching it all together. So now we can take all of these models and we can export them as an STL file, which is the 3D data for these parts, and we can bring it into a program that will write the G code for the 3D printer. So now we're in that program, and here is the top part here. And if we go to prepare to print, we can get a representation of how all of these different layers are actually going to print. Now, what I've done is on a 3D printer, you can set the infill percentage. So you don't necessarily, with 3D printed parts, a lot of times you don't want to completely have the whole thing filled with material. 1, because it uses tons of material, and 2, because it would take forever to print. You would want to change the infill percentage to a smaller percentage, something like this. You can see how it creates this cross pattern. That way it's adding structural integrity inside, but not using as much material. But because these parts are so small and I just want them to be as strong as possible, I'm going to do 100% infill. So when we step down through the layers, 100% infill looks like this. You can see each of these lines is completely filled in. And this is one of my favorite things about 3D printers, how it just builds layer by layer like that. It's actually kind of mesmerizing and cool. I love how these things work. So now that we have the program doing all of the different parameters to figure out how it's going to print this part, we can have it export the G code, which is the code that the 3D printer will actually read and step through, which tells it what to do. We can export that, and let's head on over to the 3D printer. So here we are at the 3D printer. It's printing away. It's hard to see the part because it is so small. It's kind of hidden underneath there. I'm printing the outside right now, and I definitely find having a 3D printer to be very helpful. If you don't have a 3D printer, there are a lot of services online where you can upload your file and they'll print it and send it to you. I've done a couple of other projects with 3D printers. I've built an amplifier rack, I've made speaker adapters. If you guys want to learn more about that, you can check out those related videos. I don't know if you guys can see it there, but it's starting to get to the detailed portion where it's doing those little tabs that I designed on the side. And we're zoomed in quite a bit, and that's quite a small piece. So it's gonna be pretty nice and smooth, I think. If you're wondering what happened over here on the bed, sometimes with the G code, something, even the slightest mistake, can lead to running into the bed and crashing the machine. Luckily though, I was able to just spin the bed around and it never really prints in that location, so no big deal. I'm sure those of you that have 3D printed before may have similar stories. So here it is, fresh off the press. Got the 2 pieces that I 3D printed. This one is simple enough, and I printed this on more of a coarse setting just because it's gonna come from behind and it just needs to have the strength, but you can see that it locates in that tab like we want it to. That way it can't spin around, and it also has that step to it, so it sits up inside. So that piece looks good. What about the other piece here? This piece was printed on more fine of settings, and you can see those little details on the sides there. I still need to decide if I want to maybe hit this with some primer and paint it, but for now it kind of has that matte black finish, so let's put it on and see how it looks. So I'll start with putting the knob through this piece on the back side, and I want to have it oriented in this orientation here. And then I can push this through like so. Next we can add our front panel piece here. Get that lined up nice. That looks good. We'll put on this piece here, which screws on and locks everything together. Make it good and tight. And then we'll add our base knob here. This is the larger of the 2. So that's on there good, it rotates nice. And then just make sure it's in the correct orientation and add the volume knob as well. Boom, we are good to go. I love the way that this one turned out. It looks really nice and sleek, completely integrated like it's part of the factory panel. Time to get it installed back into the vehicle. Get this screw back in right here. Reconnect all the wiring harnesses. And get this snapped back in to its home. Everything reconnected, we're playing some royalty-free music, and I would normally use this volume control for the total system control, so I would leave this inside one maxed out. And then the outer knob will serve as my bass control once I get the subwoofers installed. Everything is all lit up, so we are ready to move on to the next phase of the project. Coming up, we need to install the subwoofers into the vehicle, so if you are new here, I'd love to have you as a subscriber. Here on this channel, I have tons of videos that you may find interesting, so if you are new, definitely check them out. Don't forget, next time you need a fuse distribution block for the power wiring in your vehicle, definitely check out show sponsor New Concepts and the basic lineup. You guys can learn more at the links down in the video description. A big thanks to them, along with Bart, Mike, Ali, Francis, Jerry, Marcos, William, and the rest of the Patreon membership team. A big thanks to all those guys for making these videos possible. And as always, my friends, thank you guys for tuning in and watching.